All right, good morning, everyone. I hope you're well today. My name is Dr. Carrie Evans. I'm an assistant professor of social work at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and I'm here today to talk to you just a little bit about a research project that we've done over the past 2 years, and then to lead you into a presentation about writing a college admissions essay. So as some background on the project that we've done, these are my co-principal investigators that helped throughout the research process. But what did we do? So we instituted 11 different focus groups and spoke with 82 immigrants and refugees in the Maryland, Virginia, and DC area to hear their experiences about community college and four-year universities, right? They talked to us about their experiences of trying to access or successfully accessing college in the United States here. We also spoke to 19 different staff members at the Refugee Resettlement Agency, Lutheran Immigration, Lutheran Social Services of the National Capital Area. And so as we spoke to all these different people, we gathered a lot of information. We then developed a community advisory board, and those 9 immigrants and refugees helped kind of lead the process for us, helped interpret the data, helped understand what was going on. And they decided that from the data we had from these focus groups, they really wanted a little bit more, specifically around kind of quantitative data. So they instituted a survey that went out on Google and reached 43 program participants from Lutheran Services of the National Capital Area that they were able to gather more information from. And then we also had 2 resource mapping sessions, one with the CAB members and one with staff at the agency, where we kind of talked about what exists in the community. How are people accessing college? Who are those key players? And what are those key organizations that are really helping people to be able to get there? So a couple of the key findings that really relate to why we're here today. So the first is that English language skills people felt was a barrier, right? Almost all immigrants and refugees are speaking English as a second, third, fourth language, right? And so we know that this can be a point of anxiety and something that people are going to struggle with a little bit. But that was a big piece that people talked about was I fear that my English language skills aren't quite good enough. There's also a lot of information about a lack of information, right? How do I get the information that I need to apply to college? How do I know which colleges are available? How do I know when the deadlines are? What's the next step in the process? Where do I pay, right? All of those little things. And then with that, the pay, right? The financial barriers that come with attending college in the United States is obviously very expensive. So people talked a lot about wanting to know more about scholarships and other kind of financial resources. And then the last piece that people talked about was struggles in terms of recertification and degree evaluation. So those are kind of 2 different things, right? Degree evaluation is if you have a high school degree or a bachelor's degree in your home country and you want to be able to apply to a university here, you need to have those degrees evaluated to be able to apply. Recertification is more if you have your degree from home and you want to use it here in the United States, you don't want to attend more college, you just want to be able to use it. And so you have to go through this process to be able to be a doctor here or to be a social worker here or to be whatever your field is. And that recertification process is timely and complicated and costly and all of those other things. So these are a bunch of the barriers that people talk to us about. In terms of the survey that they did, they asked a bunch of different questions, but I'm highlighting 3 of them here to you. The first one, especially as it relates to today's topic, right? So one of the specific questions was, would you like help with writing an essay? Kind of yes or no. And 42% of the people that took the survey said yes, they would like help. 44% of the people said that they want help with college applications kind of more generally. And 65% said that they would like connections to alumni, staff, and faculty at universities. So these are some of the things that we're going to talk about today. I also wanted to just quickly highlight the prior webinars that we've done. So there was one that talked about the key features of U.S. higher education, kind of what are the differences between community college and four-year college, state schools and public schools, things like that. And another one that talked about the financial aid process and kind of which pieces are you eligible for and where can you find the resources. So I want you to know that those are there. But with that, I would like to turn you over to today's presenter. I have online here with me Casey Gilson, who is a University of Maryland, Baltimore County student in the social work program. And she's done some work and will share with you what she's learned about writing a college essay.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Okay, can you see it? Okay, As Dr. Evans said, my name is Casey. I'm here today to talk to you and give you some tips on writing a college admissions essay. Just some quick tips that will hopefully help you strengthen your essay and choose a prompt as you are applying. So let's talk about when you may be writing an admissions essay. So there's typically three times you may find yourself writing an admissions essay to college. When you're applying to community college, when you're applying to university at the undergraduate level, or when you're applying to graduate school. Most community colleges don't require an admissions essay anymore, but some do. So you have to carefully read the requirements. More specifically, I want to compare the different types of essays when you're applying to community college, undergraduate, or graduate school. So in terms of similarities, they all want you to talk about yourself, right? They contain a personal element. They want you to share an experience about yourself. Usually they're multiple pages in length, but specifically they'll tell you how long they want it, and you should not go beyond that page limit. And they want you to demonstrate strong writing skills. In terms of differences, the community college and undergraduate essays tend to be more broad, while when you're applying to graduate school, prompts may expect more detail, specifically in the subject area you're applying to study in. Certain colleges may also use different databases for applications, which we'll talk more about in a minute, and have different essay prompts. So you need to look closely online before you start writing your essay. But the most important thing and the biggest similarity between all three types of essays is that you're using a personal experience while showing strength in writing. So after you've researched and found out where you need to apply, which we will also talk a little bit more about later, you're probably wondering to yourself, how do I even start? How do I pick a topic to write about? So we'll talk about some things that make a good topic. So again, as I've mentioned before, you want it to be focused on you and your experience versus being focused on someone else, right? You want to share something different potentially from the rest of your application. So you may have talked about academic success, multiple jobs that you've had, but this is really an opportunity for you to talk about a personal experience. You also want it to be specific and original. So something that not every student could write about, right? And you want it to share positive qualities about yourself. So this is an opportunity for you to talk about an experience and show how you've grown and how you would be a strong candidate at this specific college that you're applying to. We want to avoid topics that are cliche. So cliche means something that is very common, something that everybody may write about. For example, you don't want to just elaborate on all your successes because they can read your resume and they can see your other things in the rest of your application. You also don't want to solely express opinions about certain things. So, for example, you can write about your political opinion or things going on in the global environment right now, but you also need to show how you've grown from these experiences. We're not just talking about your opinion, you're talking about the values and things that you've learned along the way. You don't want to write about something that reflects poorly on your character or makes you look bad. Again, this is an opportunity to show how you're going to be a strong candidate for this program. Um, and you don't want to talk about something that was a challenge or a traumatic experience without talking about a positive lesson. So you can talk about negative things that have happened to you before, but you just need to always make sure you're bringing it back to show how you've grown and how you would be a strong candidate for this program. So here I have some brainstorming questions if you're still feeling a little bit stuck. We won't read all of them, but we'll go through a few. So the first one that we'll look at is in the top left. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received and from whom? How did it apply to your life? So again, this question has you focusing on not only the advice you've received, but how did it apply to you and your life? How did you grow from it? Let's look here at the middle. What's the biggest challenge or failure you've overcome? What lesson did you learn from it? Again, you can talk about something negative, but make sure you bring it back. What did you learn? How did you grow? And then we'll look right here in the bottom in the middle. What adjectives would your family and friends use to describe you? So this is a great way to talk about how others would describe you, what strengths you have, your community involvement, and talk about how you impact others. So it doesn't have to be solely focused on yourself, but you can show your strengths in your community involvement as well. Okay, so now that maybe you picked your topic or you're brainstorming some ideas, let's talk about the second really important component to essay writing, and that is grammar and spelling. So having proper grammar and spelling is really important. It shows that you put time and effort into your essay, and sometimes simple mistakes could convey weaker writing skills or a lack of effort. So grammar is a crucial part of writing a strong essay. So let me share some tips with you. First is spell check. You can use technology to check for grammatical errors. There's programs on the computer that are free, such as Google Docs, or you may have access to Microsoft Word. And they will even underline spelling and grammatical mistakes and give you suggestions on how to fix them. You can also use other online programs to check for grammar, and I have some links included at the end, which are also free. Peer editing is another big way to check for mistakes. So you could ask your friends, your teachers, someone that you work with, or someone that you trust to read your essay and provide feedback. So I teach ESOL, and one of the biggest things we tell people is that even even though you may be worried about grammar, right? If you have a really strong, compelling story, still write it. Um, Getting your point across is the biggest thing. Another resource too is if you're in an ESOL class, a lot of times your ESOL teachers are willing to read through and correct your college admissions essays. I've done that before too. And that's a really great resource because they know your English level. They can help you make edits and improvements to your story. I don't want this to deter you from writing. Please write your essay, and there's always resources to help you strengthen your grammar and spelling. The last tool that I think is really important and something that I do regularly is proofreading. So read and reread your own essay. Check for mistakes. I even read it out loud. That's extremely helpful. Does it flow and does it make sense? Before you click submit, make sure that it makes sense to you and that the person reading it will also understand what you're saying. Okay, so let's go back to looking at community college, undergrad, and graduate school. I have some specific tips for applying to these specific places. So let's look a little bit more at that. So in terms of community college, as I mentioned before, most community colleges don't require an admissions essay. So Baltimore City Community College, Montgomery College, and Northern Virginia Community College, which is called NOVA too, do not have an essay required as part of their application. So it's pretty typical for community colleges not to require an essay. But if they do, the same things that we talked about before apply. You can still use those brainstorming ideas to come up with a prompt, and having strong grammar and spelling is also important. When you're applying to undergraduate programs, I have a few things I want to highlight that are important to think about. Okay, so you need to check if the college that you're applying to has a specific website, just a college website where you submit your application for that college on their website, or if they're a part of one of two larger websites called Common App or Coalition. So it's very typical for a lot of the popular universities at the undergraduate level to use Common App or Coalition. They're two different websites, and they allow you to submit one application, um, like create one application and submit it to multiple colleges at one time. So before you write your essay, make sure you look online and check to see, is the college you're applying to need its own application, or are you using a program that uses Common App or Coalition? No matter where you're applying, these strong essay writing skills are still important. I do want to go a little bit more in depth about Common App because that is what I use for applying to undergrad, and I can give you some tips. So this is what the website looks like. You can Google Common App. It'll come right up. You click on one of the first links that pops up, and it should look something like this. You can sign in. If you have an account, you can create an account and it'll walk you right through the application process. It's pretty simple. It'll ask you what information you need to put in. It'll eventually take you to the essay portion as well, and you can start it, save it, and come back and finish it later. It's not something you have to do all at once. If you look down at the bottom where it says explore more than 1,000 colleges on Common App, this is a website. So if you had scrolled down, you could search the colleges you're looking to apply for and see if they use the Common Application. So Common Application and Coalition are two websites that allow you to apply multiple places at once. So if you wanted to apply 3 places using Common App, you do one application, one essay, and you submit all of them at one time. So as I mentioned, Common App does have an essay as is part of the requirement. So these were the essay prompt questions for last year. And there's 7 listed, you only pick one. So let's go ahead and we'll start with number 5 as an example. I think it's a strong example, strong question. So it says, discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself and others. So I think this is a strong question because it asks you to talk about yourself and how you've grown from that experience. So I shared this resource in this presentation, which you can come back to. You can also look it up online. And it talks about what Common App really wants to see in your essay. You can do the same thing for the Coalition website as well. So we read question number 5, right? What they want you to focus on is describing a personal experience or personal growth from an experience. Typically, they expect an essay that showcases how you, the applicant, learned about yourself or others, right? This category I think is extremely important. It says common pitfalls. Pitfalls is like common mistakes, common places that people get tricked up. So sometimes when people use this essay prompt, they brag or they present themselves as being perfect. They want you to avoid that. Talk about your flaws and your challenges, but show how you've grown. So this chart matches up exactly with the questions that I showed on this slide. So you can go back and access these. Again, you can do the same thing for Coalition. There's lots of resources if you search online that tell you things to avoid, that tell you things to focus on. So this is just one example of one of those resources, but I think it's extremely helpful. So when we're looking specifically now at graduate school, we're moving on from undergrad. The application is a little bit more specific about your field of study. So they're going to ask you to still talk about yourself, talk about a personal experience, but also talk about the field that you're applying to, right? So this is an example. This is a picture of when I applied for my master's program, which is a graduate school. This was one of my essay prompt questions. So they said, define a social problem affecting a population of specific interest to you. So there's that piece where they're asking me to talk about myself. But if we look at the next sentence, please examine the relevancy of the problem related to the field of social work. They're then asking me to talk about how it relates to the field that I'm applying to. When we looked at the common application questions, they were a little bit more general. Talk about your own personal experiences. But in graduate school, the questions tend to be a little bit more specific. So there's multiple questions within this one text box. So making sure you're answering them all, talking about yourself, talking about growth, and talking about your field of study. Okay, so the biggest things that I hope you take away from this presentation is to thoroughly read everything. Read it, reread it, read it out loud, write it down, whatever helps you understand what you have to write about the best. They want you to relate it to your personal experience. That's a really key takeaway. When you're talking about your personal experiences, making sure that you show yourself as a strong candidate as a result of those experiences. So you can talk about something negative that happened to you, something that is really compelling, that really would make them want to accept you as a candidate, but show how you've grown from that experience. They want strong students in their program. Show them how you're a strong student, how you can be a strong person. And then making sure you're checking for grammar individually, and utilizing other resources like we talked about. So asking somebody to read over your essay, or using those websites that we talked about. So I'll go ahead to show you the resources. So I broke them into two categories. So first I have college essay writing tips. So these are more about how to pick a prompt, how to focus your essay, things to avoid. These websites were ones that I used in this presentation. They were really helpful. Um, if you need more information, you really can just Google it. There's a lot of resources out there that want to help you write a college essay, and can tell you the basics, things to avoid, things to focus on, like that. And then the second category is grammar and spelling resources. These are both free resources. I've used them before too. And Grammarly, you might have heard of. Excuse me. And Scribber is another one. And you put in your text, you put in your writing, what you wrote, and it'll give you suggestions to make it stronger writing. It'll tell you if there's errors and things like that. Um, and these are both free, so they're good resources to have. And again, a Google search. There's plenty of websites out there that want to help you write a strong essay, and help you with your grammar and spelling. So good luck in writing your college essay. I hope these tips have helped. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Evans. There we go.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Casey. That was a really helpful overview. And thank you to everyone watching today for kind of taking the time and being here to do this. We really hope that you do apply to college, whether it be community college, undergraduate, or graduate. We need so many more immigrants and people from diverse backgrounds to be entering college and to be able to enter the workforce and do all of the wonderful things that we know you're qualified to do, and all the things that you've done in home country. So please don't let your grammar be a barrier, right? Especially if you're telling somewhere in your personal story about your immigrant background, schools are going to see that as a strength, right? They're going to want you to be there. And so they're really going to take that into account when they look at what your English language skills are. They know that we need you, and they know that that's something you can practice once you're in the university. So thank you again for being here today, and we wish you all the best of luck.